Welcome to the Santa Monica College Regain Eligibility SMC Promise Seminar. Good afternoon. My name is Josh Casillas. I work at the Welcome Center, which is located on the first floor of the SSC building. And I'm here with my colleague. I'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Adrienne Johnson, and I'm a student services assistant here at the Welcome Center.
Thank you for being here this afternoon. We're going to submit some slides. We're going to go over the slides and give you information about the SMC Promise, basic criteria, eligibility, and we're going to go into focus heavily on regain eligibility. Once we do the slides, the second portion of this seminar, or the last 30 minutes, usually is going to be for questions and answers. At any point, if you have any questions, please hold off till the end of the seminar or the question part and answer part of the seminar to ask your questions, okay? You can put them in the chat, we'll read them out loud, or you can raise your hand and we'll address them at that point in time. All right, so let's get started. Regain eligibility agenda. Introductions, we did that already. Checking your SMC promise status, program requirements, benefits, how to regain eligibility, special consideration, and then once again, the question and answer portion, which is the second half of this seminar. Checking your Coursera Connect SMC Promise eligibility. The first thing you're going to look at is the drop-down menu. Make sure it's on for fall 2025. That's the semester we are currently in now. We're about the 8th week, I believe. Let's take a look at that. So there's two methods of checking your SMC Promise eligibility. On the left-hand side, there's a yellow arrow there. You can check the index. It says SMC Promise. You can click there and it will get you to your SMC Promise eligibility screen, or the bottom right there where on the gray box where it says SMC Promise, there's a yellow arrow on the bottom right there. We're focusing on these two areas. That's two ways to check your SMC Promise eligibility on your student platform, which is called Coursera Connect. So we're looking at a student here who is currently eligible. We're focusing on eligibility. The yellow arrow there, eligible, you get three indicators. First one is a color-coded box. We got a green one, and then it states the student is eligible. You are currently eligible for the SMC Promise for this fall 2025, but still need to complete and maintain the requirements below to receive benefits. You are currently responsible for your enrollment and student fees. So this gives you your overall status. All the information is on there. It's up to date. I would highly recommend, if you haven't done so already, please become aware and or become familiar with navigating your SMC Promise Coursera Connect. As you see below, there's two requirements that need to be met: financial aid and enrolled units. They're both incomplete. So it's giving you the overall SMC Promise eligibility information on that first box, okay? That's how you check your eligibility. There are some students that become ineligible. We're focusing on the yellow arrow section. Is basically the same thing. You have three indicators. The box is red, means no, ineligible, and then it gives you verbiage. This student fell out in the fall 2024. That means they're no longer eligible for this fall 2025, and they're currently all enrollment and student fees. They can regain eligibility if they have questions to contact the Welcome Center. So that's the way, that's what you're going to basically see, and that's the way to check your eligibility. Okay, SMC Promise program requirements. This is really simple and straightforward here. There are two requirements, all right? The first one is you need to complete your financial aid requirement and submit it. Make sure you include Santa Monica College, so your financial aid information goes to the Santa Monica College Financial Aid Office. That's your first requirement. You don't have to qualify for financial aid. You just need to complete your FAFSA or DREAM Act application for that year. You have to do that annually. The second thing, or excuse me, the second requirement is you have to enroll in your unit requirement. When I just showed you your student's Coursera Connect, most students' unit requirement is 12 units. There are some students that are part of Center for Students with Disabilities where their full-time requirement may be less than 12 units, but that does not mean that is not their full-time requirement, okay? So those are the two basic requirements, and we'll go over some of the information I just provided now in future slides here. Okay, the first requirement, we're going to go a little deep into this, the SMC financial aid requirement. If you're filling out a FAFSA, the school code is there. The DREAM Act application, the school code is there, okay? Or you can type it in, Santa Monica College. FAFSA or DREAM Act applications must be completed annually and prior to the beginning of the student's first semester of attendance of the new academic year to qualify for the SMC Promise benefits. Basically, what it means in the first bullet point is you have to have your FAFSA or DREAM Act application for that year before you start attending. So for example, let's say I'm a student and I was going to attend this fall and I am attending. One of the requirements is my FAFSA 2025-2026 must be on file and received by the SMC Financial Aid Office. Okay. That's basically what it says. In order to become eligible for the CCPG fee waiver, students must qualify through their FAFSA or DREAM Act application. Generically, when you apply for the FAFSA or DREAM Act application and you include Santa Monica College Financial Aid Office, the school codes that are there, they will review your information, your financial aid information, and will determine if you also qualify for state aid. They review grants, federal grants, and a thing called state aid, which is California College Promise Grant. We don't call that, we don't want to confuse anybody. We call it a CCPG fee waiver. That's state financial aid. That's basically a fee waiver. It covers your enrollment fees. It pays for your classes if for some reason you do not meet the SMC promise requirements. That's kind of a backup, okay? Anything you'd like to add to this slide, AJ?
Yes, really important. I just want everyone to focus on the SMC promise deadline. It is October 26th, which is this Sunday. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you, AJ. Very important. We don't work on the weekend, so you have to meet your requirements by this Friday. Okay. So this is what we're looking at as a student. Once again, let's say I'm this student. I am eligible. I looked at my SMC promise eligibility. There's the 3 indicators. It tells me there I'm currently eligible for this fall, but I still need to complete the maintain the requirements below to receive benefits. And it's telling me I'm currently responsible for my enrollment and my student fees because I haven't met the requirements. We're going to focus on the yellow arrow down here under financial aid. There's the 3 indicators, red box. It says incomplete. Then it also states complete your FAFSA DREAM Act application before. Yes, we know this deadline for this fall 2025 is October 26, 2025. We're looking at where the little red arrow is on the screen. Click on that SMC Financial Aid. It takes you directly to their page and you can apply through there. It usually takes 3 to 5 business days when you fill out your financial aid for it to be uploaded into the SMC Financial Aid Office, so long as you completed it correctly. Remember your name, your date of birth, and if you have a social and other things of that nature, pertinent information has to be the same on your application as that when you applied for SMC and your financial aid application. If they don't match, then you have to contact the financial aid office. It may show incomplete if you've already completed it. Okay, so that's something you have to really stay on top of. So we're looking at this yellow arrow. We know it's incomplete. We're going to focus on there again. Once the student does complete it, it updates automatically, usually real time. So we look at the yellow arrow again. As you see, there's 3 indicators. The green box, and it now says completed under the financial aid, and Santa Monica College has received your financial aid application. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, okay? As we can see, we're going to move into the next slide. Is we can see the enrolled units are incomplete at this point in time. So let's talk about enrolled units or their unit requirement. Students must be enrolled in 12 units or more, or their DSPS unit reduction, or they call it an RCL, reduced course load, by the SMC promise requirement deadline, and complete the units with passing grades. Passing grades are A, B, C, D, or P for pass, for the eligibility to automatically roll over into the future spring 2026 semester. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. You can enroll in 12 units or more. If you're meeting both requirements, your units will be paid for. Those are your enrollment fees. They'll be paid for. DSPS, there's a little bit about DSPS. That's the Student Center for Students with Disabilities. As I stated earlier, there are some students that meet with the DSPS office, or if they've had designated issues or learning disabilities in the past while they're in high school or junior high, or if you think you may have a learning disability, you can meet with the DSPS office. They're on the first floor of the SSC building. And you can meet with them and you can potentially have a unit reduction, whereas your full-time requirement may be less than 12 units. The summer and winter short-term semesters are optional to attend. And if you do attend, you must meet and complete the SMC promise requirements to receive benefits. Once again, the short-term semesters are optional to attend. If you do attend, the maximum amount of units you can enroll into is 8 units. Most students' requirement is 12 units. That means you're not going to meet the unit requirement during the short-term semesters. If you do attend, you're probably going to have to pay out of pocket unless you have a CCPG fee waiver, which is through the financial aid office. If they determine you qualify for that, that will pay for your enrollment fees, which is basically paying for your classes, but you may have to pay out of pocket for your student fees and your books. Okay. There are some students, once again, that are part of the DSPS program where their full-time requirement may be, example, 6 units. Those students may qualify to meet the unit requirement for those short-term semesters. Once again, the maximum amount of units you can enroll into the short-term semesters is 8 units. Okay, they're optional to attend. Keep that in mind. If you do decide to attend, speak with your academic counselor, your special program counselor, or you can reach out to us and let us know if you're going to attend, if you have any questions, okay? Students requiring a unit reduction, or they call it once again RCL, can make an appointment with the Center for Students with Disabilities. We call it the DSPS, and their website and information, email information are located there on this slide. Okay, they're a great help. We work really closely with them to help our DSPS student population. So we're going to focus on the Students Coursera Connect. It says incomplete. So we know under the units, that's what we're focusing on now, the yellow arrow, red indicator box, incomplete. This student is currently enrolled in 11 out of the 12 required units. Please enroll in the required units by the deadline, which is October 26, 2025 for this fall semester, and complete with passing grades. Okay, so this student, it gives you all your information here. Okay, this student is missing the unit requirement. They're not meeting it. 11 out of 12. That's hard. That's tough. Okay. So let's say the student does meet it. Boom. We're going to focus on the yellow arrow down below. Has been completed, right? You are currently enrolled in 15 out of 12 units. Please enroll in the required number of units by October 26, 2025 and complete with passing grades. So the student has met that. Once the student has met both requirements, as you can see, it says completed under financial aid, completed under units. If we focus up on the blue arrow, you get that little SMC Promise badge. It's a circle, blue, yellow, and a green check mark. It says SMCP in small writing. And then it updates your eligibility. There says, congratulations, right? You are all excited now. You are part of the SMC Promise for this fall 2025. You do not owe any fees so long as you complete your requirements, your required units with passing grades. And then you automatically get a fee postponement for the semester when you get that badge. When you meet the requirements. Okay, so this student receive a fee postponement. December 23rd, 2025 is the official last day of the fall 2025 semester. Okay, that's how it will look. So we're going to look at a student. Bam, this is the same. This is a similar student. This student, we're focusing on the yellow arrow down below again. Their units are completed. This student has a DSPS unit reduction, or they call it an RCL, reduced course load. You are currently enrolled in 6 out of the required 6 units. Please enroll in the required number of units by October 26, 2025, which is the requirement deadline, and complete with passing grades. Focusing on the blue arrow up here. Once again, they got the badge and their information is updated there. Congratulations, fall 2025. Don't owe any fees as long as they complete the required units with passing grades. This student also qualifies for a book voucher. It says there, SMC Promise book voucher. We're going to go into that in a future slide. But once again, and they get a fee postponement. Once again, all your information is on here. All right, so become very familiar with your Coursera Connect SMC Promise. It's real time and up to date. All right, let's talk about the SMC Promise benefits. Let's go into that. In order to receive the SMC Promise benefits, students must meet their requirements by SMC Promise requirement deadline for this fall is October 26, 2025. It's everywhere. All this information is on our webpage. All this information is on your Coursera Connect. Okay, become familiar with both of them, all right? October 26, 2025. This Sunday is the requirement deadline. If you meet the requirement deadline, the requirements, the following are the benefits. Your current enrollment and your student fees are paid. So let's take an example of a student that has 12 units. That's almost $600. That's a lot of money, right? $600 is a lot of money for you to pay out, or your parents or your parent, legal guardian, et cetera, to pay out for education, right? So that's a benefit of being part of the SMC Promise and meeting both requirements. You receive a fee postponement for the current and future terms. So when you get that badge and you meet the requirements, you get a fee postponement for the current semester, so you're protected. And then you also get a fee postponement for the future terms. So you get a fee postponement for the future spring 2026 semester. And the reason that's really important is the one for the future terms is The fee postponement is because you will be enrolling soon in beginning of November. You'll get an enrollment date and time for you to enroll for the future spring 2026 semester. So if you're meeting the requirements by October 26, 2025, you get a fee postponement for the future spring so you can feel comfortable enrolling for the future spring without having to pay any fees. All right. Ideally, we like our students to meet both requirements before the fee payment deadline of each semester. For example, for this fall semester, I believe it was early August or mid-August that the fees were due. If you met both requirements, you didn't owe any fees, and you got a fee postponement. So those are the benefits of the SMC Promise. You get priority enrollment for future terms. That's extremely important, right? I would highly recommend you meet with your academic counselor or your specialized program counselor to help you create an educational plan so you're on the right track based on your academic and personal goals. So you get the first chance to enroll in your classes for the future semester for this upcoming spring 2026 semester. We know classes fill up really quick. It'll be best if you get to enroll in the classes and make the schedule that you like, right? That's a great benefit that you get. And the last one, or one of the last ones here, is you get a refund. So let's say I'm a student, I'm eligible for the SMC Promise for this fall semester. The payment deadline comes up, let's say in the middle of August, right? And my financial aid has not been submitted. I'm enrolled in my unit requirement. I'm enrolled in 12 out of 12 units, but I haven't submitted my financial aid. So I pay out of pocket so I won't get dropped from my 12 units, right? So then I submit my financial aid. On October 26, 2025, I'm meeting both requirements. My financial aid has been submitted for this fall. I don't have to worry about that, and I'm enrolled in 12 out of my 12 units. So on October 26th, I'm meeting both requirements. I will get a refund. Okay, if you have a bank mobile account, make sure, or if you don't have a bank mobile, that's an electronic style refund, you will get a refund. Usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get one. Or if you prefer a check, a hard copy, they will call you and say, hey, we have a check. Do you want us to mail it to you or do you want to pick it up? So you potentially get a refund, okay, if you pay it out of pocket. Other SMC Promise benefits, it's up to $3,000 for SMC Promise book vouchers. Those are students that are meeting the SMC Promise requirements and also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. Those two together allow you to get an SMC Promise book voucher. And we'll show you in a future screen what to look for on your Corsair Connect. You get a reduced parking pass from $50 to $18 if you're also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. That's a big deal, right? Complimentary Gold Pass Metro Tap card for the current semester. So you can take the train, the bus, and things of that nature. You'll get that card. And your second year of SMC Promise will automatically roll over so long as you meet and complete the requirements. All right. Pretty simple and straightforward. Anything you'd like to add to this, Adrian?
Just for the bank mobile, if you are going to receive a paper check, make sure that you have the correct address. That way they can send the check to the correct location.
Perfect. That's great information to have. All right. We did talk about the California, I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to call it CCPG fee waiver. We spoke about that earlier. The California Promise Grant, let's not call it that. CCPG fee waiver covers enrollment fees only, which pays for your classes, basically what it means, and is processed via the SMC Financial Aid Office. Qualifications is based on California residency, AB 540 status, government benefits, income, and or your submitted FAFSA or DREAM Act application. It pays for your enrollment fees. Once again, it pays for your classes for an entire academic year. That all depends on when you were approved or you submitted the CCPG fee waiver. Let's say I'm a student and I applied for my FAFSA or my DREAM Act application. One tidbit, you want to apply for your FAFSA or DREAM Act application before March 2nd every year. When you do that, there's another benefit through the financial aid office called the Cal Grant. You may potentially also receive another grant. And also the benefit is if you submit it before that date and time, when let's say before March 2nd, that will be used for the future academic year. Academic year starts in the summer, as you can see here, summer, fall, winter, spring. That's an entire academic year. So let's say my parents filed their taxes, I got their information, I didn't work, I don't have any tax information, so We filed it, the FAFSA, for the upcoming academic year. Let's say I think it's going to be 2026-2027 for next academic year, next summer, fall, winter, and spring. I do it on March 2nd, so I already know I don't have to worry about that next academic year that's processed. And then let's say I qualify for a fee waiver. Let's say I decide to attend next summer. I know I'm not going to meet the SMC Promise benefits during the summer, but I want to take one class. At least the CCPG fee waiver will cover my enrollment fees for that class. That's one benefit of having a CCPG fee waiver. It pays for the semesters, the short term. If you do decide to attend the short term semesters, it'll at least pay for your classes. But you will have to pay the pocket for your student fees and your books, materials, and supplies. Also, if you get a CCPG and you're part of SMC Promise meeting requirements, you get a book voucher. We're going to talk about that in the next upcoming slides. So it pays for your enrollment fees, summer, fall, winter, and spring. It depends. Once again, let's say I didn't attend summer. I applied for this fall and submitted my FAFSA information this fall. It starts from fall, winter, and then spring. It won't go retroactive of summer. Even if I attended summer and I receive a CCPG, you won't get a retroactive refund. There's no minimum unit requirement. You can take half a unit. You can take as many units as you can enroll into. I think it's maybe 14. And that'll pay for that. Once again, it does not cover student fees. The difference is SMC Promise is not dependent on student financial need, and it covers enrollment and student fees for potentially up to 2 years. That's the difference between the CCPG and the SMC Promise. Anything you'd like to add to this, Adrian?
Yes. So yeah, I just really want to stress if students have any questions about the CCPG or your financial aid application, please visit the financial aid office. You can drop in person. They also have the queue list because we don't have access to your financial aid records. So they will be the ones who will be able to best assist with any inquiries.
That is great information, AJ. We appreciate that. We can only access, we actually look at your Corsair Connect and we share those screens and emails to you. So that's where we get all your information. We don't, once again, we don't have access to your financial aid information. All right, let's move on. All right, I touched on this earlier. SMC Promise book voucher. You must be eligible, meeting all SMC Promise requirements, which is your financial aid, enrolled in your unit requirements, and also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. The formula is there. SMC Promise plus CCPG equals an SMC Promise book voucher. It's up to $3,000 for an academic year. The way it's broken down is $1,000 for fall, $1,000 for spring, and if you do meet the requirements during the optional short-term semesters. Let's say I'm a student that's part of the Center for Student for Disabilities, and my full-time requirement is 6 units, and I do decide to attend the summer, and I'm meeting both of my financial aid and my unit requirements, 6 out of 6 units, and I'm also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. I would qualify for $500 for that summer, and if I do decide to attend the upcoming winter, another $500 for the SMC Promise book voucher. Once again, the short-term semesters are optional to attend. If you do attend them and you want to get the benefits of the SMC Promise, you have to meet both requirements. Most students are not going to get benefits during that short-term semesters. The SMC Promise book voucher is automatically issued now. It can only be accessed through the following link, which is smc.slingshot.edu.com. I'm sorry, slingshot.edu.com. I do apologize. This information is on our SMC Promise book voucher section on our website. It's also on the SMC bookstore. You can check that. They automatically process it. So if you qualify for a book voucher, they look at what classes you're enrolled into, and then they automatically send you the books. They mail you the books. All right. You can opt to have your books mailed directly to the SMC bookstore, which I would recommend, so you can pick them up there. In the case you also need materials and supplies, your book voucher will also cover that. And you can only pick up your materials and supplies at the SMC bookstore, which is located on the main campus. They won't mail you materials and supplies. Okay, it covers all of that. You also qualify for a potential refund only if you bought your books through that SMC Slingshot. I'm sorry, Alejandro, can you mute yourself? Thank you. You qualify for a refund for an SMC book voucher if you bought your books through that website before you qualify for a book voucher, and then you found out you qualify for a book voucher, you can contact the SMC bookstore and ask them for a refund. If you bought your books from Amazon or a different platform, you're not going to get and then you find out you get an SMC Promise book voucher, you're not going to get a refund. You only get a refund if you paid out of pocket at that website, and then you later on qualify for a book voucher. Anything you'd like to add to this, Adrian?
Yes. So the book vouchers, they will expire next month. And so if you do have a remaining balance, it doesn't carry over to the next semester. So you can find that information logging into Coursera Connect and click on the SMC Promise link under the book voucher section. You'll find the expiration date.
Great information. And that brings us to our next slide here. So this is a student here. We're focusing on the blue arrow. They got the badge. So we know they're meeting both requirements below, financial aid, enrolled units. And once again, it tells them congratulations. And it also tells them that they qualify for a book voucher. So you know right away you qualify for a book voucher. If you scroll down on that screen, you can look at the bottom of the yellow arrow. They're eligible. You qualify for an SMC Promise book voucher at the SMC bookstore during the following period. For this fall 2025 semester is August 18th through November 14th, 2025. If you have questions, you can click on that link where the red arrow is, and it takes you to our SMC Promise book voucher section. And once again, as Adrian did state, the dates and deadlines are there when you can access that book voucher. Once again, they automatically do it. But if you have any questions, those are the dates. And if you have any monies, it will not roll over if you have any monies left over. All right. So this is for a student that does not qualify for a book voucher. As you can see on the bottom of their Coursera Connect, they don't have a fee waiver. It'll show the red ineligible. You do not qualify for a fee waiver. And if we're focusing on the yellow arrow on the SMC Promise book voucher, they have the red icon ineligible. And it tells you right there, only students that are meeting the SMC Promise requirements and also receiving a CCPG fee waiver will qualify for a book voucher. So it gives you that formula there once again. Once again, everything's on your SMC Promise Coursera Connect. Gives you all the information there. Okay. Here's how we get into it, how to regain your eligibility. The requirement deadline for this fall semester is October 26th. Okay. Basics of Regain Eligibility. Any student who has opted in and is still within the 2 years of SMC Promise eligibility and has fallen out only needs to enroll in the unit requirement for the future semester prior to that semester-specific requirement deadline to regain eligibility. Students must still meet both their financial aid and unit requirements to receive the benefits of the SMC Promise if they regain eligibility. So basically, if you're still within your eligibility and you've opted in and you fall out of SMC Promise, all you have to do is enroll in your unit requirement for the future semester before the deadline of that future semester. The future semester is going to be spring 2026. The requirement deadline is, I believe, April 20th. You just have to enroll in 12 units before April 20th of that future spring 2026 semester, and you regain eligibility. Once again, your financial aid also has to be on file. Okay, let's go into a couple examples. I think we have 5 examples to give you a better understanding of regain eligibility. These examples live on our SMC Promise webpage under regain eligibility. Student financial aid requirement is completed and is enrolled in their unit requirement of 12 units for the fall 2025 semester through the requirement deadline of Yes We Know It for this fall, October 26th. At the end of the semester, a student does not complete 12 units with passing grades. That means the student will fall out, right? The student then enrolls in their unit requirement of 12 units in the future spring 2026 semester prior to the requirement deadline of that semester, which is there. The student will automatically regain eligibility for the spring 2026 semester. It's pretty straightforward, okay? That's how regain eligibility works. The good thing is, as I stated earlier, you will get to enroll in your classes in early November. So if you're in a fear that you're not going to pass some classes, you can enroll into the future spring to regain eligibility just to get ahead of the game, so to speak. All right, let's look at example number 2. This one's different and really important. The difference is important, excuse me. Student's financial aid requirement is completed, but is not enrolled in their unit requirement of 12 units for the fall semester at the requirement deadline of October 26, 2025. So the student will need to pay for their current fall semester fees and will fall out of the SMC promise. That's the difference here. Okay. If you're not meeting a requirement of your units or financial aid, matter of fact, at the requirement deadline, you are going to need to pay for your fees for this semester if you owe any fees. There are some students that may owe enrollment fees, their class fees, and their student fees. If you have a CCPG fee waiver, at least that will kick in and pay for your enrollment fees, your classes, but you will have to pay out of pocket for your student fees. Okay. This student then enrolls in the unit requirement 12 units for the future spring 2026 semester. Prior to that requirement deadline for the spring, the student will automatically regain eligibility for the spring 2026 semester. Pretty straightforward. That's the difference between example one and example two. This student did not meet the requirements at the requirement deadline, so they had to pay out of pocket. Okay, example number three, this student is part of the DSPS. Their financial aid requirement is completed and their unit requirement is 6 units. The student is enrolled in 6 units for the fall semester through the requirement deadline of October 26. At the end of the semester, the student does not complete 6 units with passing grades. The student then enrolls in the unit requirement of 6 units for the future spring 2026 semester. Prior to the requirement deadline for the spring, the student will automatically regain eligibility for the spring 26 semester. So hopefully you're enrolling in early November for your future spring semester classes. And once again, to get ahead of the game, it will cover you in the case you are going to fall out. Okay. So this student was good about the student. They met the requirements of the requirement deadline. They don't owe any fees for this fall semester. Okay. They enroll in their unit requirement future semester. They regain eligibility. Here's the difference between example 3 and example 4. It's similar between the difference of example 1 and example 2, except the students have unit reductions because they're part of the DSPS program. So students part of DSPS, their financial aid requirement is completed, and the unit requirement is 6 units. The student does not enroll in their 6 units for the fall 2025 semester at the requirement deadline of October 26, 2025 for this fall semester. The student will need to pay for their fall 2025 fees and will fall out of SMC promise. Okay. So once again, this student is not meeting the requirements, so they're going to have to pay out of pocket for this fall. The student then enrolls on their enrollment date in the unit requirement of 6 units for the future spring 2026 semester prior to that requirement deadline in the spring. The student will then automatically regain eligibility for once again, the spring 2026 semester. All right. Those all 4 examples are very similar. And example number 5 is a little bit different, but same in the way, right? So the student's financial aid requirement is incomplete for the fall 2025 semester at the requirement deadline of October 26, 2025. So this student can be enrolled in their unit requirement. Let's say their unit requirement is 12 units. They're enrolled in 12 out of 12 units, but their financial aid requirement is not met. The student will still need to pay for their fall semester fees, and they will fall out of the SMC promise for this fall semester because that's one of the requirements. You have your financial aid requirement and your unit requirement. This student failed to meet their financial aid requirement. The student then enrolls in their unit requirement for the future spring 2026 semester prior to that deadline. The student will automatically regain eligibility for the spring 2026 semester. Keep in mind, the student financial aid requirement must also be received and completed prior to the requirement deadline for the future spring semester to receive benefits. They have to meet both every semester, right? Financial aid and your unit requirement. All right, that's basics of Regain eligibility. All right, if you have any questions in Regain eligibility, you can always visit our webpage, smc.edu/, I think it's promise, or you can just go on the website and search SMC promise. And it's going to give you these examples that we went over. All our information is on our webpage with the examples. Or if you have questions, you can email us, welcomecenter@smc.edu. Please include your complete name and your SMC ID number, and we'll look at your file. Students have individual files and individual cases, right? And for us to be very specific, we need to have your pertinent information. It's highly recommended if you are going to email, please email from your student email address, all right? And if you leave a voice message, please leave your contact callback number. Otherwise, it's very difficult to call students back sometimes. Anything you'd like to add to any of that, AJ?
Yes, so just to be clear, because I have had a lot of students asking questions about making up units during the winter or the summer. So that's something that we used to do. Now the process is so much easier for students. All you need to do to regain that eligibility is enrolling your unit requirement and have your financial aid application on file. So you don't have to make up any units. That's all you need to do. And what you can do now, once you do enroll in those spring classes, you can select this spring term, and then you'll see that same SMC promise. Green means you're good to go. Red, that means you need to complete either your unit or your financial aid application.
That is
Green.
great information. We did have previously a different policy where students would have to make up units. There's no reason to make up units anymore. You just have to enroll in your unit requirement for future semester, as Adrian did point out. So it's pretty straightforward and simple now. There are some students that may fall out at the October 26th deadline. If you're not meeting one or both of the requirements, you will get an automated email to inform you that you did not meet the requirements and you potentially owe fees. That's an automated email that we instituted in the system. So you may get that, but if you regain eligibility by enrolling in the future semester, as Adrian did point out, you go under the spring drop-down menu under SMC Promise, and if you're meeting both requirements, you'll get that little SMC Promise badge. So let's go into the SMC Promise Special Consideration. This is really rare cases now. These are for students that did not or are not meeting the basic eligibility criteria or missed more than one semester. Sometimes the students reach out and they need a little bit of assistance. We take a human approach to help our students retain and or maintain their SMC Promise eligibility. So let's talk about this. It's a review process to potentially gain eligibility for students who are no longer eligible. It'll get an ineligible status. So with the new regain eligibility policy, you may get an ineligible status for a future semester, but if you're still within the 2 years and you have eligibility, you can just regain eligibility. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can email us. Once again, welcomecenter@smc.edu. Include your SMC ID number and your complete name. And then we'll look at your file and we'll let you know, hey, what's your course of action? Have extenuating circumstances. Sometimes there's stuff that goes on in life. We'd like to take the human approach. We know it's extremely stressful. As a young adult, you have so many things going on, so many things to navigate, and we're here to assist you. We're here to defend for you, so to speak, and advocate on your behalf as better terms to get you and maintain your SMC Promise. All right. If you do not meet the basic SMC Promise eligibility criteria, which is the majority of students that qualify for special consideration, are students that don't meet the basic eligibility criteria. Most of you students that are here are already currently eligible and were invited. That's the reason why you all the students that are here qualify to regain eligibility, okay? Which is the examples we showed earlier. It is not guaranteed that you will gain your SMC Promise eligibility, but your file will be reviewed and potentially get back in. If you have any questions, you can email us, the Welcome Center at smc.edu, to see if you need to do a special consideration. But once again, mostly, I'm sure about 99.99% of the students that were invited and are attending here now are regain eligibility eligible. Anything you'd like to add to this, Adrian?
Yes, there is one thing. If for some reason, if there's someone here who did not opt in for the fall semester into SMC Promise, please send us an email, welcomecenter@smc.edu with your full name, your ID number. Do that before the SMC Promise deadline this Sunday.
That's a great point. After October 26th, we cannot do anything with your file. We can't get you back in. We can't do anything. So we have a little bit of leeway before that date. All right, so this is for a student that doesn't usually meet the basic eligibility criteria, or they're out of their eligibility of the 2 years they already ran out. It'll tell them that they're ineligible and it tells them to contact the Welcome Center. It gives you a specific semester that you're not eligible for. All right, if you want to contact us, I know I've said it many times, but it's extremely important. Welcome Center at smc.edu, which is our email address. We're actually really proficient and on top of our emails and voice messages. We usually have a 3 to 5 business turnaround. When we do respond to emails, Once again, please include your complete name, your SMC ID number. Please email from your student address. And if it's about SMC Promise, which majority of emails are, we go into your actual Coursera Connect and take screenshots and refer to that and give you a brief overview of what is going on, just to really help you understand what you're looking for and how to navigate it. You can call us 310-434-8101 or contact or visit our website, which all our information is on our websites. All right. Well, good luck, SMC Promise students. And this is on behalf of the SMC Promise team. All right. Here's the best part. It's question and answers. Let me stop sharing. And the best method I think that worked yesterday at our other seminar was that Adrian read off the questions that were in the chat system and we addressed them. Do you want to try that again, Adrian?
Yes, well, I do have to jump off a little
Okay.
early.
Oh, okay.
So maybe about 5 minutes, but I just want to say thank you all who did join us today. We do provide a lot of information. Yeah, so you can start putting some questions in the chat.
Thank you, Adrian. I've totally forgot about that. I appreciate that. So I did get a direct message. Please email the Welcome Center at smc.edu with your ID number. I cannot check it now. I'm currently doing a seminar, so I cannot look at your file to give you the information via this seminar. I do apologize. That's directed towards T. Harris.
Okay, is the CCPG, is that income-based aid?
That is correct. So there's three ways when you apply for a there's three ways to get a CCPG. The first method is when you apply for FAFSA, or a DREAM Act application, the SMC Financial Aid automatically reviews your file and will determine if you qualify for a CCPG. The second method is if you qualify for TANF, welfare, Social Security, or your parents do, if you get any kind of benefits from the government, that's one method. And the second method is the third method is via income taxes and things of that nature, how many in your household and the income. Those are the methods. If you want more clarity on that, you're going to have to contact the SMC Financial Aid Office to inquire more about the CCPG fee waiver. And once again, we don't have details and access to the systems that they do. Great
All
question.
right. Yeah, here's another great one. Why is the maximum number of units during the winter and summer sessions so low?
Great question because during the short-term semesters, they're condensed, right? So a regular term semester is usually about 14 to 16 weeks. What they get all the information that you will be learning in 14 to 16 weeks, and they condense it to 6 or 8 weeks. So that means you're attending the class usually every day, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, for several hours a day. And there's no way you can take more than 8 units. 8 units is usually referred to as 8 hours. But if you'd like to discuss that further, you can speak with an academic counselor or your specialized counselor to see if they can give you a unit increase. But I think I've only seen 3 students in my about 30 years of working at SMC that got more than 12 units during the short-term semesters. Great question.
All right. What if you had 12 units at first, but had to drop a couple of classes because of conflicting schedules, and they changed your class midway through and now trying to regain the 12 units?
So if you don't meet the requirements which is financial aid and your unit requirement at the October 26th, which is this deadline for fall, you're gonna need to pay out of pocket for your fees. You're gonna fall out, but the good thing is you can regain eligibility by enrolling in 12 units in the future spring 2026 semester. Make sure both requirements are met in the spring before the spring payment deadline. This way you don't have to pay out of pocket. So unfortunately, you
Okay.
may fall out. There are some classes that may be still available. Log into your Coursera Connect. There are short-term class counseling 20 that you may potentially still be open. I think it's a 3 unit class. The counselor's name is Valentine. Excuse me, it's a counselor professor. Yes, Valentine is the last name. First name is Diana, spelled with a D-A-Y. You can ask them for an ad code if it fits in your schedule. Okay.
Okay, so we just have more questions regarding the unit. So again, unless you don't have that unit reduction, and if your unit requirement is 12, you do have to be enrolled in 12 units by the deadline. Um, So yeah, so here's another question. Is it possible to be in SMC Promise with only 7 units? I was in a 5 unit class, but dropped it and I was too late to re-enroll into another 5 unit class.
Unfortunately, no, you have to meet both requirements, financial aid and your unit requirement. Log on to your Coursera Connect, it will say you're enrolled in 7 out of the required 12 units. So that's that on your Coursera Connect, that information, when you actually opted in, you agreed that you would meet both requirements to receive benefits of the SMC Promise. You got to keep in mind, classes are really limited now because there's certain cuts to classes. So you have to make sure you enroll in the right classes that you know you're going to be able to withstand throughout the entire semester. There are some students that have to weigh, right? Some students would rather drop to avoid a W, which is honorable withdrawal, drop before the required SMC Promise requirement deadline, than have to pay out of pocket. And then there are some students that would rather meet the requirement deadline, and then drop after that so they don't have to pay for their fees for fall and then get an honorable withdrawal, which is called a W. That's something you need to discuss with an academic counselor or your specialized counselor. What is the best option for you to do? Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh no, go
That's
ahead.
it. Go ahead. No, that's it.
Oh, okay. All right. So next question. So I received an email from the financial aid office that my file is incomplete. If I rectify this before the Sunday deadline, will I be able to receive my aid?
So if you make any changes to your financial aid, I would highly recommend you meet with the financial aid office to make those changes. If you do them yourself on FAFSA or DREAM Act application, you may make some mistakes. Keep in mind it takes 3 to 5 business days for any change to get uploaded. We are today Wednesday. We don't work on the weekends. So basically you have by this Friday to have your SMC financial aid office receive all your financial aid requirements. By this Friday, I would say by noon. Okay, I'm gonna send them an email to find out when's the last time they're gonna upload or do changes, but you have to do that ASAP. After October 26th, we cannot do anything. Financial aid cannot do anything for you either. There's no forms that are due on October 26th. All you have to do is enroll in your unit requirement by October 26th and make sure your financial aid is received by SMC Financial Aid by October 26th. All that information is on your Coursera Connect SMC Promise as shown in the slides
And
earlier.
then just to clarify, so SMC Promise is different. It's separate from any financial aid assistance that you're getting. So if you have ish or questions about any grants or fee waivers, speak with the financial aid department for that.
Very good.
And
Um,
then let's see.
Passing grades are A, B, C, or D for pass. Okay. If you're getting an A, B, C, D, or a P for pass, you're meeting the requirements. All right. If you don't pass a class, that's usually when grades are submitted. Usually grades are submitted before spring semester. For this fall, they'll submit them sometime in winter or spring. So long as you're enrolled in your unit requirement at the requirement deadline, October 26th, your fees will be covered for this fall semester. And if you do, for some reason, not pass a class, as example number 1 showed, right? The student was enrolled in 12 units, but at the end of the semester, they didn't pass all 12, right? They're enrolled in 12 units at the requirement deadline. They don't pay for this fall. They fall out. They find out they didn't pass a class at the end of the semester. They're good for this fall. All they have to do to regain eligibility is enroll in their unit requirement for the future spring semester. Hopefully that
Okay,
makes sense.
so let's make another clarification regarding winter classes. Okay, so I have 9 units and I've been trying to get into a class for a month to complete the 12 units. They were told that they could enroll in a winter course to complete that 12 units. So all of the units must be taken during this semester. And another question I always get is, can you combine it if you're taking classes from another community college? Unfortunately, not all classes have to, or all units have to be taken at SMC.
Great questions and great answer. Thank you, Adrian. It's pretty straightforward. There's no need to make up units anymore in the short-term semesters. That was a policy that we had a couple semesters ago. All right. All you have to do is enroll in your unit requirement for the future spring semester, in this example, to regain eligibility. And there's no
Oh,
consortium agreements, as Adrian pointed out. You cannot have 3 units at one college and 9 units at SMC to make combined 12. They all have to be taken at SMC to qualify for the SMC Promise benefits.
Oh, and this is another good question. Okay, so I'm no longer eligible for SMC. Does that make me ineligible for the CCPG, or is the eligibility separate from each other? That's a great question.
That's a great question. We did cover that in one of the slides. So SMC promise, you have to be eligible, opt in, and meet both requirements, financial aid and your units enrolled. If for some reason you don't meet any of those, and when you apply for financial aid, they review your file and you qualify for a CCPG, that's separate. That's through financial aid office. But the good thing is that CCPG will pay for your classes. So let's say this fall semester, let's say I'm a student. I'm enrolled in 6 units out of my required 12. My financial aid is in though, okay, but I'm still missing 6 units. On October 26, 2025, I don't have 12 units. I only have 6. I know I'm going to owe fees, but I have a fee waiver. That fee waiver will pay for my enrollment fees. It'll pay for my classes. The only fees I will have to pay out of is pocket will be student fees. The CCPG fee waiver pays for your classes. There are small fees called student fees that you would have to pay out of pocket. And then I know I fell out. All I have to do is enroll my 12 units for the future spring 2026 semester to regain eligibility. So they're separate. It's kind of a backup. The CCPG is a backup. It's an extra thing through the financial aid.
Yeah, and let me just add for the CCP or for SMC Promise, so you don't need to reapply for the spring semester. Again, to regain that eligibility, all you need are your units and your financial aid application on file. All right, so let's see. So this student fell out of the 12 units and couldn't get in a class to meet the requirement again. They're a little bit confused because the enrollment fees were paid for. Since I will still be ineligible by the 26th, will I have to go back and pay for the enrollment fees for my class that were originally paid for?
No, if you already paid for them, if you paid out of pocket for them, you don't have to pay for them again. Or if you didn't pay for them, but you have a fee waiver through the financial aid process, the CCPG fee waiver, that'll pay for your enrollment fees. You may have to pay for your student fees, but if you paid for all of it, you don't owe anything for this fall. That's pretty straightforward. Great question. If you meet all the SMC promise requirements for this fall semester, yes, it's free. If you meet your requirements on October 26, 2025 for this fall semester, your semester for this fall is free. Free. You don't owe any monies. Even if you drop after that date or don't pass a class, your classes are paid for. Great question.
Okay, so I am about to jump off pretty soon. It was such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And if you've sent me any direct messages, you can send them to Mr. Joshua Casillas. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop by the Welcome Center or send us an email. All
Thank you,
right.
Adrian, for being here. You're the
Thanks,
best.
Josh.
Have a
You're the
good night.
best. Bye.
All right, let me read off the next one. Will I have to pay a fee smaller than namely student fees and student health fees? Yes. So there's a question. I'm assuming this is from Christian. Excuse me. If you have a CCPG fee waiver from the financial aid and you do not meet the SMC promise requirements, that fee waiver will pay for your enrollment fees. It'll pay for your classes, but you will have to pay those minimal fees. I think it's somewhere around $50 for the fall and $50 for the spring semesters. Uh, so that the CCPG fee waiver does cover that. There's a question here. I applied for fall 2025, ended up taking a gap semester, but I'm planning to enroll for the upcoming winter semester. I suppose I lost eligibility. Yes, you did lose eligibility if you take a gap semester, but the good news is if you enroll in the next full term semester, which is spring 2026, you will receive eligibility again. It's called regain eligibility. If you enroll in the winter, you're not going to be able to enroll on your unit requirement. All right. You're not going to be able to enroll in 12 units for the winter. So you will not regain eligibility for the winter. You can regain eligibility for the spring if you still have eligibility, but you do miss out if you take a skip semester. You can take a skip year. If you still have eligibility, you're going to miss out on that whole year, but you can still regain eligibility. Are there any other steps? Nope, that's pretty much it. Christina K, I'm sorry. That's hopefully that answers your question. You can always email welcomecenter@smc.edu, include your ID number and your name so we can review your file and look more in depth. There's a question. People with disabilities get to have less units. Does dyslexia and yes, contact the Center for students with disabilities or the DSPS office. Inform them of what you may be having issues with, and they can review your file and potentially get you a unit reduction. Keep in mind, the last day we can do a unit reduction is this Friday. We don't work on the weekends, and the requirement deadline is this Sunday. So you have to meet your units and your financial aid by this Sunday, right? And we can only process. We have to override the system through with the DSPS. We work closely with them if they do determine that you qualify for a unit reduction. If you have any further questions, feel free to throw in another chat. I just got dropped from a class and only have 11 out of 12. Is there a way to add another class? You're going to have to find a 1 unit class or more than 1 unit that fits in your schedule. That's a hard break right there, 11 out of 12. Unfortunately, there's not many classes short term available that have 1 unit classes that are late term. So you're gonna have to go on your Coursera Connect and investigate and see if that is. If the worst case scenario is you can at least regain eligibility if you enroll in your unit requirement for the future spring 2026 semester. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, throw it in the chat. Fees seem postponed till December. Should I pay for the student fees now? If you're not meeting both of the requirements, then you're going to eventually owe fees, right? If you have a fee waiver, then you can pay for your student fees. If you're meeting both requirements and you're in the SMC Promise, you get the SMC Promise badge. You don't owe anything if you meet both requirements by October 26th deadline. I wouldn't pay for any fees until I'm asked to pay for fees. You currently have a fee postponement. All right. If for some reason you owe any fees, they will tell you you cannot enroll in the future spring semester unless you pay this fee or that fee. That's how I would approach it. It's up to you. If you have further questions, please email. We'd have to look at your file. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Good afternoon. I just wanted to make sure we have to enroll for spring class in November, not October. That is correct. So most of you will get an enrollment date and time in your Coursera Connect, and that's the date and time in November, early November, for you to choose your classes for the future spring 2026 semester. Hopefully that clarifies it. The October 26th deadline, that's the SMC Promise requirement deadline. That's what we're referring to. That means you have to meet financial aid and your unit requirement by that date to be in SMC Promise and to have your fall 2025 fees paid. Great question. I still haven't received my FAFSA money for the semester, so should I get money come through? So if I meet the requirements. Okay, so the FAFSA, when you apply for FAFSA, that's through the financial aid office. They review your file to determine if you qualify for grants. Grants are basically monies that you qualify for that you can utilize towards your education or your educational purposes. SMC Promise is separate than FAFSA. We just need you to file the FAFSA. That's a requirement. We don't care if you qualify or you're awarded or you get grants and things of that nature. If you haven't got any monies and you think you qualify for monies, please contact the SMC Financial Aid Office. Once again, the SMC Promise or the Welcome Center does not have access to the financial aid systems. You're welcome. I'm getting a lot of thanks here. You're welcome. I had a question. Late start classes start next week on Monday, and I had planned to crash a class, but it starts after. Oh, very good question. So if you crash a class and then you add a late term class, you get an add code after October 26th, email us. Email us at welcomecenter@smc.edu. We'll look at your file. If you did in fact add a class after October 26th, we're going to have to process a special consideration to get you in the SMC Promise to get your fall paid out for. Okay, that's a great question. That was absolutely great question. So for some reason you have 12 units after October 26th, email us. We'll review your file via special consideration. Great question. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, send another chat. So will this Friday's deadline not apply to me since I'm already be able to regain it for this fall? I'm not sure. So if you were enrolled in 12 units this fall, you're good. If you're meeting both financial aid and your unit requirement for this fall. If you are not and you're not going to and you still have eligibility, you can regain eligibility for the future spring 2026 semester. So what I'm gathering is, let's say this example of this student They were eligible last spring. They didn't meet the requirements last spring. They were eligible this fall. They didn't meet the requirements this fall. They're eligible for next spring if they regain eligibility, if they enroll in their unit requirement, usually 12 units. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, throw in another chat. You're welcome. You're welcome for the help. That's what we're here. We're here at your disposal. This is great, great questions. It usually helps us and saves a lot of time emailing back and forth or phone calls back and forth. That's why we have these seminars. I know there's some counseling classes, one unit that have week 9 through 18 start date, like counseling. Yes, there are some counseling classes that start later after October 26th. If you do enroll in 12 units, great information there. If you do, if they're open and you add them and you roll after the fact, please email us and we'll review your file via special consideration. Kaylee, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you being here and giving us thanks. We are here. We get paid to help you. We get paid to work for you. All this is for you, the students in the SMC community. All right. Is there any more questions? We have about 10 left people in here. And if there's no more questions within the next minute, I will have to log off. Very great questions. Hopefully you all benefited from the information from the slides and answering questions and other questions that other students may have posed that we answered. You are welcome. Thank you all for being here. We're at your disposal. We work for you. Remember that. Email us, welcomecenter@smc.edu. Include your name, your ID number. If you have any questions or you need a course of action, like what's going on, how do I approach this, how do I regain eligibility, I'm going to fall out, anything of that nature, do not hesitate to email us or call us and leave us a voice message. Email is usually best because we can provide screenshots of your actual Coursera Connect so we can inform you what to look for and how to look for it and links and things of that nature. Yes, this will be recorded. It will live on our SMC Promise video library, which is on our SMC Promise webpage. We already have one that lives on there, one recording. We had several SMC Promise information sessions before the fall started and after the fall started. And that one already lives on the SMC Promise video library. That in that session, we also covered 4 examples of regain eligibility, so you can also check that. This one will live there. Give me about a week or so to have it posted on there. If you have any further questions, you can refer to that. Great question. Yes, you're welcome, Arlo. Check out that video. Let me see if I can post it here if you're still on here. Our video library. Once again, it does have our recorded session from earlier this semester. It's a general one, but we cover everything in the SMC Promise general information session, and it does cover regain eligibility. I just posted it there. Oh, sorry. Here we go. There it is, everybody. Great questions, great seminar. Give a couple more seconds if there are any more questions. You're welcome. You're welcome. Please check it out. You can always play it on it's on YouTube, which is great about it. You can play it in fast motion, 1.5 speed, 1 3/4 speed. If you want to get through it quick, if you want to listen to it while you're cooking or doing studying or whatever, and then you can always stop it and go back to find out if there's something that catches your ear or something that you're interested in knowing. You're welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for the great questions. All right. This concludes our SMC Promise Regain Eligibility seminar. Thank you for being here. My name is Josh Casillas, and on behalf of the SMC Promise team, thank you once again for being here, and good luck to you, and we'll see you soon.